Savanah Solomon lives in Western Australia, where she has already been awarded for her music. In 2023, she released the EP Where the River Meets the Sea, and she has a new single called Magnolias, which is really lovely, as is the EP. So if you haven't heard her music yet, run, don't walk. And I'm going to talk to her about it. Hello, Savanah.
Hello, thank you so much for having me today. It's a pleasure to be here.
Great to meet you and to talk about your music. I am going to start with the new single, Magnolias,
Yeah.
which was partly inspired by the movie Steel Magnolias, which I also love. So I'm wondering what you love about that movie.
Oh, just the sisterhood in that movie and their resilience and strength, like all the trials and tribulations of life, knowing they had each other's back like the whole way through. And I just love the sentiment of a still magnolia. Like I've watched it a few times and then I kind of realized the last time I watched, I was like, oh, when it's like, that's why it's called Steel Magnolias, because they're as tough as steel, but they're like as beautiful as these magnolias. And I did research into it, and like magnolias are some of like the oldest flowering plants in the world because of their resilience. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's so fitting. So that's what like the sentiment of that really like inspired my song for sure.
I did not know that about Magnolias.
Yeah. I love doing that extra research into things,
Mhm.
and it was funny, like they're so old that they actually don't get pollinated by bees, they get pollinated by beetles. Like such an old species. And that's why their flowers are like it's kind of waxy but really hardy as well.
Right.
These are the beetles that pollinate it. And I was like, oh, so interesting.
Well, it is. I've never known any of this, and I love magnolias. I have clothing with magnolias on, but did not
Oh,
know any of that. I
awesome.
really love the idea that it's such an ancient plant that we still have.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it doing research into it, like it blew my mind, and I just thought I'd really delve into it and try and, go into it as much as possible. And then I really wanted to write a song about my nana,
Mhm.
because I look up to her as like a steel magnolia. She's, like one of my favorite people in the world, and I kind of just combined the two. And then turned the poem into a song, and then it went from there. And it's just about honoring all the women that have come before us. And then it's also about like carving your own path forward in that sense. And like about, heading on that path less traveled as a woman sometimes, which can be quite scary, but knowing that people are looking out for you, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yes, there's a couple of things I'd like to pull up from what you've just said. The first being the research. So you said you really like to research. So is it
Yeah.
something that quite often when you're writing a song, you actually think, oh, I'm just going to follow that little strand down there and see what happens.
Yeah, definitely. Like I am really interested in words. And so that's why I write a lot of poetry. Like obviously that started originally as a poem. So I write a lot of poetry aside from my songwriting. But it does go hand in hand. But like I'll look up a word and I'll see like the originality of that word, where it derived from. So
Okay.
I think it's really important. I don't know, you just get like that extra source of information, and I feel like you can do like double plays with words and stuff like that, you know what I mean? So I take great pride in like my songwriting. That's like my huge passion.
Mhm.
And like if I could just get paid to do that all the time, I would just write songs. Like that's the one thing that brings me all the joy, is just like playing with words. So yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Well, actually, the poetry was the other strand I wanted to ask about because you said that Magnolias was a poem that became a song. So when did you start writing poetry and actually what fired your interest in it?
Um, oh, that's a good question. It was actually I went to this retreat last year. It was like a bushwoman retreat, and it was about connecting to Mother Nature and spending time with these wonderful, amazing women that are like my sisters now, which is quite fitting because this is what Magnolias is about. It's funny how life works out in that way. And written a poem about being a woman, and I share it a lot on my socials, like every now and then when I feel inspired. Anyway, we were gathered around the fire, I think, like having a cacao, and I shared this poem, and people were like really moved by it, and I was like, oh, and they were like, yeah, really have a way with words, and they're like, you really need to just keep doing it, and I don't know, it just really put the fire in me to just keep exploring like that side of what I'm doing. Like I don't. sometimes I find it hard as well, and this is a constant thing, like turning poems into songs or vice versa. It's like two different worlds, and sometimes I look at a poem like that can't be turned into a song. That's
Yeah.
itself in its own right. But I've been exploring it, and it's been really fun. Yeah, I love it.
So when you think a poem can't be turned into a song, is it because you actually can't envisage or like, or that's the wrong word actually, you can't really instinctually see a way to put music to it, or like the rhythm of that poem is just not going to lend itself to music?
Sometimes when I feel like a poem is that beautiful in its own right, I'm just like I can't do anything more to it. Like
Right.
that's just beautiful. But in saying that, like I look at Magnolias and I look at the poem to the song and I look at them as two different entities.
Hmm.
Makes sense. I don't know how else to explain it, but they are combined, like the song is combining them two, but they're still two different
Hmm.
entities and both beautiful in their own right. But yeah, it is hard with some poems that I write about and some you just can't like they it doesn't make sense to turn them into songs at that stage. But I love the idea that I could sit on a poem for years and think, oh my gosh, like I'll just leave it as a poem. And then it might be 10 years down the track that I might go, oh my gosh, I really like those words from that poem I wrote. And I can add it in. So it's kind of like intermingling it all. Like it doesn't have to be that all the words from that exact poem. It's like cutting and pasting in a sense.
Yeah, right. And I do understand what you mean about Magnolias, the poem, being separate to Magnolias, the song, because they're actually different audiences, most likely, for those two.
Definitely. Definitely. I love that.
So you do a bit of writing, not by hand in a notebook and not on a computer either. You have an Olivetti Latera typewriter that I'm guessing you do a lot of your poem and songwriting on. So where did this come from, and why do you like a typewriter?
I love thrift shopping. It's one of my biggest passions in life and biggest hobbies. And my mum would say I have a terrible addiction to it. And anyway, I was out with a friend, I think it was last year, and it was funny, it was just after this retreat and like what these women were saying like really inspired me. And I came across it and it was just glorious. And I picked it up and I was like, I'm just going to see if it works because I had paper in it and it worked. And I was like, I have to have this thing. Like it is so beautiful. So yeah, I'll show you because it sits on my desk. It constantly like it needs to be sitting somewhere where I can see it. So if I do ever feel inspired, I can just, pick it up and straight away get typing. But yeah, I just love vintage things and I love the idea of when you're typing on a typewriter, it's so different to like writing in a booklet or even like typing on a computer because you have to be really thoughtful. Like you
Hmm.
have to really think about what you're going to say because if you stuff up, the whole thing's ruined. And I've done poems from scratch on a typewriter and that's so hard like because you really have to like, oh, is this really the right sentence? Am I going to have to redo the whole thing? But it's yeah, it just makes you like slow down and really consider what you're typing next, if that makes sense.
And I think it means it's an editorial process in and of itself. You're essentially editing yourself before you commit to typing the keys because, as you said, you want to make a mistake. So
Yeah.
instead of you just typing it and then going back to the whole thing and reworking it, it's who knows how many drafts you're going through in your head before you type it.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. There's something really beautiful about like going back to like the old school ways, even, say we send emails now, but like when you get a friend and you write a letter to them, in that sense, like I don't know, it's just slowing down in that sense and really being grounded and really thinking about what you're going to write. That's beautiful.
So then the question arises, do you need tape for it? And if so, how do you find it? These days, typewriters aren't that common.
Do I need what, sorry?
Tape for it, like typewriter ribbon.
Oh, I just go on eBay.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I just went on eBay and I typed up the typewriter and there it was. But I do need to buy some more actually because I'm scared this is going to run out when I feel inspired and I'm going to be like, no. So I need to stock up.
I think that's fair enough. So, do you read poetry? And if so, which poets have inspired you, and also which songwriters have inspired you?
Um, it's funny with poetry. I wouldn't say. I don't read as much as what I should do. Um, I, but I do have lots of poetry books, and I'm always, on Instagram, I follow a lot of different poets. I can't give you an exact name, but they all inspire me. But I feel like life generally inspires me. You know what I mean? Like being out in nature or family and certain phrases that people say, like, oh, what did someone say to me recently? And I was like, oh, take it with a grain of salt. And I was like, that's such a good line. I was like, that could be a song. Like any little things like that, I'll write it down. And I'm like, there's more to this. And then when you do that research, you're like, where did that originate from?
Right.
What does it mean? I know I delve into it so much, but I love it. So yeah, it's interesting. I don't have a particular like poet that inspires me. In regards to songwriting, there's so many different artists that inspire me. I'm just trying to think of different names. You've got like Sierra Farrell, Paul Kelly, Sarah Rose, Angus and Julia Stone, The Waves. There's so many, yeah, different artists and all different songwriting as well. Paul Kelly, definitely with his like storytelling ability. I really connect with that.
So it's interesting hearing you talk about the research again, because it seems to me that that actually helps you shape the story in a lot of ways. So you go from this spark of a like a line or even a word, magnolias, for example, and then doing that research actually helps really get a sense of what the story may be or inspire a story that you may not have thought of before. And it's a really fascinating songwriting method actually, because I haven't heard anyone talk about it like that, but I can tell from your inquisitiveness that your research probably leads you to all sorts of stories that you may tell.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I think this is why I'm really glad I've got into poetry as well. It's a different way. Like with my songwriting, I used to kind of approach it that like I had to feel really moved by something for me to like sit down and really write that song. And and it had to be something about that was happening in my life. Where poetry, it could be just about I approach it differently. Like I wrote a poem about the rain on a tin roof, and it was like pitter patter, ricochet, bulletproof, and it was something so small, and like that could, to be able to turn that into a song would be really cool. I just approach poems a bit differently, and I feel like it's helping me with my songwriting to approach it in a different sense too, in that way.
Well, I would also think that discipline you talked about of what you're going to commit to typing would help with songwriting, because it's probably making you quite a lean, almost ruthless songwriter, because you're already going through that thought process of, well, am I really prepared to commit to this line?
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. And yeah, I just love doing research. There's a poem, like I've got a couple of poems that I haven't finished yet, and there's one about how you know, we are like stardust, in a sense, and we come from, like the Big Bang in a way. I don't know how to explain it, but I'm doing research into it and like scientific research to try and create this poem, and yeah, it's fascinating. It's beautiful. So I'm also learning stuff at the same time, which is pretty cool.
So if people want to see your poem, because obviously listening to your songs, we know where to find those. But if people
Mm.
want to read your poems, is there a place they can go?
Instagram is where I share, that's the only platform where I really share my poems, and I've got a like a highlighted stories, and it just says words. And if you
Yeah.
click on that, you can see everything I've written. And I'm actually typing out actually old song lyrics as well and sharing them so pe people can actually see, what these songs mean to me and what they're about. Because I feel like, it's really important for me as an artist for people to be able to hear and understand my lyric writing. Like to me, it defeats the whole purpose as an artist is if, you listen, it's nothing more frustrating when you listen to another artist and you can't even hear what they're saying.
Yeah.
I don't know what this song's about. If you understand what I mean, yeah.
Oh, I absolutely do. One of the reasons why I actually love Australian country music as a genre is that pretty much everyone articulates very clearly when they sing. So you can hear,
Yeah.
I think it stems from an intention to communicate with an audience, because I think as a genre, the artists in this category, or however we want to describe it, are very interested in communicating with an audience. So therefore, they want to be clear when they're singing. They want the audience to hear everything they're singing.
Yeah, yeah, so true. I totally agree with you.
So speaking of Instagram, I did find something on your Instagram from a few months ago, possibly even I think
Wow.
maybe the end of 2023, where you took a break from, maybe it was early 2024, you took a break from music and you put a note up and you're
Hmm.
explaining why you took a break. And then at the end you said, if you're not dreaming, you're dying. So I was really interested in that because it's, yeah, that's a mission statement in a lot of ways.
I love that you've done this research yourself. You are a researcher like me. This is amazing. I've got a wonderful friend. He's like my best mate in the whole world, like my brother. His name's Reuben Huntley, and he's a writer, a poet, and I got that kind of slogan from him. And he's always said that to me, if you're not dreaming, you're dying. And I live by that now, you know. I'm always trying to chase goals. I'm always trying to live my best life because we've only got this one world life. So
Hmm.
why not? And it totally does make sense. It's such a simple slogan. I'd love to have it permanently put somewhere in my room for that inspiration. But yeah, that's where it comes from.
It's a commitment though, isn't it? Chasing dreams, because it can be hard to it can be
Oh,
hard to sustain the energy, can be hard to sustain the belief, not necessarily in yourself, but I think in the world around you that actually the dreams are going to be able to manifest.
totally, totally. I think you know, I see it in so many ways in this world, you know, and I can understand why, but people do give up on their dreams quite a lot. Life happens. There's a lot of people here that are honestly just trying to survive,
Mhm.
which, you know, I feel very lucky and privileged in that sense, you know. But yeah, I think you just have to approach life with a certain attitude. And, you know, I've always been one of those ones, I'm a doer. Like if I want to do something, like even if there's people saying you are completely bonkers with this idea, I'm like, nah, I'm doing it. There's nothing stopping me. I don't know. I think it just gives me that spark in life. And you know, like I feel like us as humans, we got to have that extra meaning to our life. You know, for me, my purpose is in this world is to, you know, create music not for myself first, but to also, you know, it's the icing on the cake to be connecting to people and to be making that difference in the world.
Mhm.
And, you know, like I have so many other dreams outside of music and things I want to do. So, yeah, I'm just here for it. I'm just trying to do as much as possible.
Well, you've already achieved a lot in your music because last year you were the winner of the Emerging Artist of the Year award at the West Australian Country Music Awards, and you were also a finalist for Female Artist of the Year and for Music Video Clip of the Year. So that must have felt like a great vindication that doing it, as you said, just getting out there and doing it is actually working.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like you know, a lot of musicians and artists would understand it's an incredibly hard slog sometimes, and sometimes you can be doing it for years, and you'll have moments where you're like, am I really actually making an impact? Or, you know, like you just start to doubt yourself. And you know, one of my friends said to me one time, she said, you really don't realize how many people you're touching as an artist. You know, there could be someone like all the radio shows I've done recently, like you know, like there could be someone sitting there having a really bad day and they might just flick it on and hear my song and it might just give them, you know, that spark for the day to keep on going or, you know, it might just make their day. So I feel like you really don't know the extent of your impact in this world. Um, Sorry, I think I've forgotten the question, but
It was that's absolutely answering the question, which was about being feeling vindicated because I'm doing
mm,
it because you give me
yeah,
awards. But yeah, I think most people aren't going to tell you whether it's
yeah.
because they don't think the artist wants to hear from them, or they just don't know how to get the message through. I think a lot of people might presume that they could send you a message and you're not going to see it, even though these days pretty much everyone does see their messages on social media. But and also just I tend to think a lot of audience members or readers or whatever the art form is don't feel like they're up to the task of communicating what they want to say to you, and that doesn't mean that they're not.
Yeah.
They feel that like they see you as the artist, like, oh well, you can communicate but I don't know how to.
Yeah, I understand what you mean. And that's why, like, for me, it's really important if I go to a gig and I really, really connect with someone and I'm really inspired, I will let them know. You know, it's for me as an artist, when I've had a couple of randoms message me and they're like, you know, like honestly, you blew me away. You were amazing, and I can't wait to see you again. Or I think this one of my number one fans, she's beautiful. She saw me play a few years ago and she said, your song Rainbow is so beautiful. You are so authentic. And it literally brought me so much joy. Like something like that just keeps you going. It keeps that fire burning inside of you. So I think, you know, as an artist, I owe it to the other artists, you know, to share the love and show support because it honestly it's a hard slog.
Look, and also in the days when, you know, CDs could be sold in large numbers and all those sorts of things, there was like a tangible signal to the artist that people really liked them.
Mm.
Now with streaming, yes, you can see numbers, but you don't necessarily feel the same connection as someone actually going and getting that album, that CD. And and with live music still being somewhat tricky, I think a lot of artists don't have as many signals from the audience that they're beloved. So yeah, anyone who's listening,
And
let
I
the
think
artist know.
difficult with social media as well because as artists we're showing the highlights and we might have a certain number of fans and followers, but that doesn't mean that we are able to financially support ourselves or you know like what is success, you know what I mean? Like it's you know you hear a lot of artists that get awards and all that and they're still working part-time jobs, you know, to survive. So and to me, you know, that's where my idea of success has changed, you know, and I'm just like I feel I'm doing what I love.
Mhm.
It's bringing me joy and I'm reaching out to people and it's growing and that is and I'm doing art. A lot of artists, a lot of people in this world don't have the courage, you know, to really stick to their guns and do it. So I'm like, I am successful in my own right. But to be able to have that validation is amazing to get that recognition. But man, if you're an artist doing it, good on you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because the doing of it can be really hard. We could all
Yeah.
hypothesize, we can all make plans, and then, yeah, showing up, as I like to say, showing up and sticking with it is the hard part.
That's it. That's what I say to myself every morning when I have to get up ready for work. I'm like, when I show up, I'm 50% done the day. I'm just like, done.
Now, speaking of work, your work is actually you're a fly in, fly out worker. You are a grader operator on a remote ore mine in WA, and I was
Mm.
actually interested in that in the nature of FIFO work for you as an artist because I would think in the off times you've actually got a chunk of time where you can concentrate on your music.
Yeah, I really enjoy it. So I've only been doing this job for about a year. And I just took a leap of faith. I was like, look, you know, I got some goals I need to chase, and that's the best way for me to do it. And yeah, it's been the best thing ever. Like I love with FIFO when I'm at work, I'm completely solely focused on that. I still send emails and try and do music stuff on the side. But then when I'm not at work, I do not have to think about it at all. There's
Yeah,
no means of communication. There's no way, like I don't have to worry about it whatsoever. And I'm fully muso mode.
right.
So it's an easy like transition. I just like flip. It's like two different worlds in a
Yeah.
sense. So, and it's only week on, week off. So I feel like it's doable. I couldn't do 2 weeks on 1 week off at all. I think that would totally kill me. But yeah, I love it. And, you know, having that financial like safety net as well, you know, I can fund my music. I can be more selective with my shows. I can really consider where I want to go with my music. So that's one thing that I really enjoy about it.
And also, it does give you certainty in terms of being able to plan shows. I would think you know your schedule. If you're week on, week off, it's like right. I know
Mm,
what to be in the meantime.
yeah, definitely. It's the one thing that sucks is like having to say no to shows, but it also really gets me thinking. It's like it makes me think of the quality of shows. It's like if someone asks me to do a show and I am considering taking time off for work, then that is a show worth doing, right?
Yeah.
It's all quality over quantity.
Hmm.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Right? And then sometimes I get asked to do a show and I'm like, it's not my vibe. I'll just say I'm at work. Nah, but it is nice to really, you know, like I know as as a musician, sometimes we say yes to certain shows for, just for money to survive. We all do. And it's nice to be picky and choosy and to know my worth as well and to be like, I deserve more as well.
Mhm. Yeah, I totally agree. I think, and more women in particular should say that and set those financial boundaries. I think is
Yeah.
really important. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
But flying in and flying out is not the only travel you do because you have a 1985 Toyota Hiace van, and I believe you do like to get around in it to remote and rural towns. So, how
Mm.
far have you traveled in that Toyota van?
Oh, I have been everywhere, man. I am actually heading to Esperance next break. So that'll be fun. And so not looking forward to that drive. That's a full like 8 hours in a day. But I've gone all the way up, if you know WA, right at the top to Broome, Cygnet Bay. I've done Exmouth. I've done Coral Bay, worked my way down. I've done Karratha, somewhere there. I've done Carnarvon. And I've gone all the way down to Esperance and done every place in between. So it's been really beautiful. You know, I always look at when I do these gigs, I say it's my paid holiday. You know, because I'm getting paid to have fun and I get to explore these new places and meet new people. So I feel like this lifestyle is well suited to me.
Yeah, right.
Um, but yeah, and then I feel like it works hand in hand because then I go to these new places and meet new people and it inspires me to write more songs too, you know.
Mhm.
So I love it.
And there seems to be quite a good WA country music scene developing as well. I've spoken to Adele Oliver recently. I know there's, Tanya
Mm.
Ransom's over there, Scarlett's Way. There are quite a few artists emerging. Do you actually get to see much live music though?
I actually find that with my job, having that financial safety net, with how, economically with how this world's going, it's nice to have that safety net. And I'm actually going to more gigs, even though I am away. Like I am having more time off to support other artists, which is really awesome because that really inspires my music too. I recently went and saw Sarah Storer,
Mhm.
and my friend Olive May was opening up
Oh,
for it.
so
That
she's
was
another WA artist. Yes. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I went and saw that recently. Even international artists like Tyler Childers, I saw him with my dad recently. That was really inspiring. Sierra Farrell at the start of the year. Um, yeah, it's nice to be able to have that time. Time is an important thing for me, and then to be able to afford to do it.
Hmm. Well, your time has been certainly very well spent making Magnolias. I'm interested in what's coming up next. Are you planning to record more? Have you already recorded more?
I've actually got two recordings that are pretty much done, so I'm hoping to release them shortly, sometime this year. And yeah, just constantly looking at doing some fun gigs around Western Australia. I've got a couple of gigs over east shortly, but I haven't announced them as of
No.
yet. But
Right.
that's really exciting because they're my first shows outside of WA,
Right.
which is really cool. So I feel like that's a huge stepping stone for me. And yeah, just gonna keep releasing and writing and yeah, doing my thing, which I love.
Well, I love it too, Savannah. It's been lovely to talk to you, and I hope I will talk to you
Uh,
again next time you release music. Thanks for your time.
yeah, thank you so much for having me.